Hey YouTubers, it's Shannon from Tesla and Chill, and today is another beautiful day here in Seattle. Take a look at this weather. It is 76 degrees and it is gorgeous. If I were a tanner, I would be laying out in the sun right now. Unfortunately, since I only burn, I will be putting on a layer of self-tanner tonight. But we have an exciting video for you today. Today we are going to Bellevue and we are going to be test driving one of the newest electric vehicles that is on the market. We are so excited to be taking you with us. But before we go, take a second and subscribe to our channel right now. I know there'll be another video that you like in the future. And while you're at it, take a second and like this video too. Now, let's get going. So it is no surprise that we are Tesla fanatics in this family. We love our Model 3, but we also have a Honda Accord Hybrid. And we love that vehicle too. That was kind of our first taste of the electric world, was getting that Honda Accord Hybrid. But now that we have two sedans, we're looking to maybe expand into the SUV world. As a growing family, we know that we're going to need a little bit more space, and what better way to get an SUV than to get an electric one? But even though we love Teslas, we're not necessarily sold on getting the Model Y or the Model X. We're still open to trying out other brands. As you saw in one of our last videos, we test drove the Jaguar I-PACE. And I did have some really high hopes for that one, but after test driving it, it was a little bit underwhelming. So I think the prime audience for that would probably be like my mom or grandma, not necessarily a car that was meant for millennials. So that's why we are super excited today to be driving the Audi E-TRON. It is Audi's fully electric vehicle, and as an SUV, I'm really hoping that it's going to fit our family's needs. I'm really hoping it's going to have a better frunk than the Jaguar did. That one was so teeny tiny, it was kind of a letdown. So my hopes for the Audi are really high, but I don't really have too many expectations for it. I didn't do any research going into this test drive, so I don't know the range. I don't know its charging infrastructure. There's a whole lot of questions that I do have about it, so we will find out those answers together. Now, the very first thing when we walked into the Audi dealership was the e-tron. It is literally right in front of your face when you walk in, and it is beautiful. And they even have it set up with the charging cable, and you can tell when it's unplugged, the charging port just beautifully blends in with the rest of the body. Now, this was only the display car. The real car we got to look at is the one right outside. As beautiful as that blue display e-tron was, it looks just as sharp in black. This e-tron Prestige package comes with a sticker price of $82,795. Now that's just over $2,000 less than the Jaguar I-PACE we drove just a few weeks ago. But what does that kind of money get you from Audi? Now, as far as technology goes, this e-tron comes with a Driver Assistant Package Plus. Now that includes a heads-up display, ambient lighting, and as you'll see in just a second, it gives you a virtual cockpit with the Audi smartphone interface and Audi Navigation Plus to help you get where you need to go. They also give you a 6-month free trial of Audi Connect, which lets you surf the web from the infotainment system, but you'd have to continue that subscription once it was over. Okay, moving on to the back of the car, you can see there's a lot of space here, especially if you put the seats down. You can fit a lot of junk in that trunk. But I was kind of disappointed that this SUV has such a small compartment in the back, especially compared to the Model 3. But the Alcantara on the doors is a very nice touch. And these leather seats are just what you'd expect from Audi. The front seats are able to heat and cool, but the best part is that they have a massaging feature. Now that sounds great for road trips, am I right? And Audi continues to impress. Look at these built-in sunshades. This is perfect for us considering our 11-month-old spends a lot of time in the back seat. Now I can't forget to mention these beautiful inlays. This is a natural burl walnut, and it's a beautiful wood that really tastefully adds just a little bit of nature to the car. And I have to say, I always check out the mirror in any car that I'm in. And this one was pretty standard. Nothing too special about it, but it gets the job done. But I will say I definitely love the panoramic roof that's on this car. This thing was very nice, although it wasn't too different from a Model 3. It really just had that one little separator in the middle, but overall, still a nice feature. I will say I was pretty disappointed looking under the hood. The frunk was really small, especially considering the fact that it was an SUV. Now I've added my purse here so you can kind of gauge its size, and I've also added a picture from the I-PACE when we drove that just a few weeks ago. That one was still super small. Now take a look at that compared to the frunk of the Model 3. There's a huge size difference here. Now let's get to what you've probably been waiting for, the test drive. Now they wouldn't let us test drive the black e-tron because they said that the suspension wasn't unlocked yet, and I didn't really know that was a thing, so they had us drive this red demo car instead. And there were just a few minor cosmetic changes from this one to the black one, but it really drove the same. Now here you'll notice if you look at the top screen, you can see that the backup camera shows a split view. It shows directly what's behind you, and on the right side it shows a bird's eye view of your vehicle. And I think that's a super nice touch from Audi. I almost wish that Tesla would have done something a little bit similar. Now Audi also added another nice feature that I really like. Now as we saw before, the panoramic sunroof is split into two pieces, which I don't love that feature. I wish it was all one piece. But as you'll see in just a second, they added a really nice sunshade, and I think that was a really thoughtful thing to add. And Audi had a few things I really was a fan of and a few things I didn't really care for. And when it came to actually driving the e-tron, I really liked that it had a sport drive mode on top of just its regular drive mode. The sport drive really added just a little bit more pep in the SUV step. And it does have adaptive cruise control, but it wasn't as intuitive as I was hoping, but I'll touch on that again later. I was also hoping the e-tron might have some version of an autopilot, but I was disappointed there as well. But as far as regenerative braking goes, the e-tron really doesn't like to waste energy. The e-tron allows the driver to select either automatic or manual regenerative braking, and the driver can adjust those levels and can even control the regenerative braking from the paddles located behind the steering wheel. And when it comes to charging, the e-tron charges in 10 hours, and that's using a 240 volt, so something you'd use in your house. And it has a range of 204 miles, but to put that in perspective, that's about 30 miles less than what the Jaguar I-PACE can do. And a quick side note, a big shout out to J3 for being such a trooper while we test drove this car. Okay, but back to the charging information. Unlike the Jaguar dealership, this Audi salesman told us of course we would not be able to charge at a Tesla supercharger, but he recommended using chargers by companies like Electrify USA, which has a growing infrastructure by adding 1 to 2 chargers a month across America. So to recap our test drive of the Audi e-tron, we were super impressed with this vehicle, especially if we directly compare it to the Jaguar I-PACE we drove just a few weeks ago. That Jaguar I-PACE, it was really underwhelming. We were not really impressed with it. I think it would be a great car for my grandma to drive, where the Audi e-tron would be the perfect car for my mom to drive. Although we were super impressed with it and we really liked it, I don't think it was quite as appealing to millennials as the Tesla is. So the Tesla is currently my standard right now, but the Audi e-tron was a very close second. It had really high quality finishes. It was really pretty. It had definitely a lot more advanced features than the Jaguar. Alright, now let's talk ride quality. Both the Jaguar I-PACE and the Audi e-tron have air suspension, but honestly, if you were riding or even driving the Jaguar I-PACE, you wouldn't really know it had air suspension. If you told me it had coils, I would probably believe that. Our ride in that car, it was really bumpy, it was really noisy. Now if you compare that with the Audi e-tron, that air suspension, it really was like driving on the cloud. The air suspension in the Audi e-tron, it really just absorbed all the bumps and imperfections in the road. So it was a really smooth ride, which is honestly what I would expect from a high quality German car. Now if we talk about the other factors like noise, the Jaguar I-PACE, whether we drove a little bit slower on a main road or even faster on the highway, you could really hear the wind coming through. There wasn't a lot of sound dampening. It was really, really noisy. We kind of thought maybe that was normal for electric cars after going in the Jaguar I-PACE, but in comparison to the Audi e-tron, whether we were on a main road or the highway, we even turned down the air conditioner and the radio just to hear how silent it was. And usually you hear the noise of the engine or the exhaust, and since that wasn't there, the only thing we heard was a very faint hum of the electric motor. I was really, really impressed with the quality of this car. Now anyone that has a Tesla or knows anything about Tesla knows that Tesla has a legit autopilot system. That autopilot system, it can modulate the brake, the throttle, it can change lanes for you, it can exit for you when you're on the highway, it can pretty much get you to your destination. Now in comparison, the e-tron and the I-PACE, it's a huge night and day difference. The e-tron and the I-PACE, in my opinion, their adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist, it just sucks. When I was driving it, even just going around minimal curves, they really struggled just to maintain their lane. Now that I think about it, my Honda Accord Hybrid actually outperforms the e-tron and the I-PACE when it comes to the lane keep assist and the adaptive cruise control. In the I-PACE and the e-tron, when we'd go around even the most minor curves, they really struggled just to maintain their lane. But the Honda Accord Hybrid handles it with no problem. So to think about a $35,000 car outperforming a $70,000 car is really shocking, and that's something to keep in mind if you're researching these vehicles. Overall, when comparing electric SUVs, the Tesla Model X is still my #1 favorite. It's the most minimalistic, it has the most space, and to me, it's the most technologically advanced car out there. Now, if you're on a more limited budget and you're comparing the I-PACE and the e-tron is by far the way to go. It really blew the I-PACE out of the water. Now, even though the I-PACE has won a ton of awards, and I really don't see how, and it offers 30 more miles of range, to me, it really isn't worth it with everything else that Audi has to offer. The I-PACE to me already seems outdated, and that's not something I want to have for a new car. Now, if you have an electric car that you'd like us to check out, drop us a comment below, and thanks for watching this video.